Hey guys, welcome to Pistons Talk Podcast post-game show. If you're staying up after this Pistons Portland Trailblazers game on a Sunday night, technically it's Monday morning right now. You're a real one. Appreciate you guys just continuing to show the support of the podcast and tapping in on these, post-game shows. But what I'm going to do is we're going to get into these quarter notes, and then after the quarter notes, if you guys have any questions, comments, overall thoughts, make sure to drop them in the YouTube live chat. And if you're an audio listener, definitely just want to open an invitation. If you ever want to catch any of these post-game podcasts and hang out, ask a question, get maybe one of your questions or comments answered in a future podcast, definitely invite you to. But if you don't want to do that, you just want to listen to the podcast on the audio side, 100% understand. But let's get into this post-game podcast. So Pistons were playing the Blazers in Portland tonight. It was Bill Walton night. And funny enough, the Pistons played spoiler on Bill Walton night. They came out very aggressive. They came out like a team that lost two straight. I think the Golden State game definitely slipped away from them. That was a very winnable game, but they came out aggressive. The defense was active. And I think when I was watching this game in the first quarter, I was just like, okay, this is going to be a game where they're just going to go out and just dominate. But something about this West Coast trip, like the turnovers have been really bad for just like the past 2 or 3 games. The Blazers obviously weren't going to just let the Pistons come in there and just, win by 20 or 30 points. They went on a little 8-1 run in the first quarter and got this game within 3 to end the quarter. Cade did have 12 points in the first. He was really looking for a shot, looking to stay aggressive, but end of the first quarter score was 31-28. Pistons have a 3-point lead. Going into the second quarter, what I really liked was Isaiah Stewart's just energy. He was blocking shots. He did get it on a poster tonight, but overall, I thought just his energy, his compete level around the basket was very consistent throughout the night. Cade Cunningham found Jalen Durham for lobs. Tobias Harris was hitting his shots. Tim Hardaway Jr. had a better game. He's had a couple of games here where he's really struggled. The ball was going in the basket for him tonight. Pistons do get a little bit of a lead going into halftime, 64-58. Coming out of halftime, probably their best quarter tonight. They came out really aggressive in transition. They padded the lead all the way up to 18 points at one point, believe it or not. The vets were hitting threes. And what happened towards the end of the third quarter is Anthony Simons woke up. Now, Anthony Simons, I think we can all agree, is a bucket. He can score at all 3 levels. That 18-point lead they did have dwindled down to 11 points to end the third quarter. Pistons had a 97-86 lead. Going into the fourth, the Blazers were really looking like they were going to just try to come back and make this a game. And that's exactly what it was. They gained momentum. The turnovers were very apparent in the fourth quarter. The defense, the closeouts, especially on the perimeter tonight, I feel like the Pistons got very fortunate that the Blazers weren't hitting their shots, because if they were hitting their shots, the Pistons probably lose this game. But I think 2 players I want to highlight, Dennis Schroeder and Tobias Harris, made crucial plays, shots, and their veteran leadership is the reason why I think they won this basketball game personally. You're seeing the veteran presence of a Dennis Schroeder, what he brings to a basketball team, and I think that's going to be very crucial come playoff time. Tobias Harris had a great game. The Pistons were looking for him to kind of just take some of that scoring load, and I think he did a great job. Blazers just couldn't hit a 3 to save their life. They just couldn't. There was, I think I counted maybe 5 or 6 times where they get a good look from 3 and it just wasn't going in, right? Yeah, but the Pistons just squeak away to get back into the win column, and they finish this week on a West Coast trip 2-2, finish 500. 119-112 was the final score. Obviously, they did beat the Utah Jazz as they should. The Warriors and the Nuggets. Or I'm not the Nuggets. I'm sorry. The Warriors and the Clippers obviously got the better of the Pistons, but I think overall with this West Coast trip, the one thing that I'm going to point at is just the turnovers. I think need to be cleaned up. Hopefully, they can have this little home stretch where they have Washington and OKC. They can clean that up because you don't want to have that, looming as we're March 10th as we're recording this podcast, but you don't want to get back into those bad habits that you had in the beginning of the season where you return the basketball over. Obviously, Cade is getting pressured more in the half court, which is kind of forcing these bad turnovers. But overall, they do need to clean those up. I think you're just seeing the importance of the veterans on this basketball team right now with Tobias, with Dennis Schroeder, Malik, and basically everything like that. But overall, good win for the Detroit Pistons. I do want to open up the show to questions, comments, overall thoughts. To see we have around 22 people watching right now on YouTube, very late at night, mind you, at 12:17 a.m. But we're going to get into these questions and probably just wrap up the podcast. I don't want to keep you guys too long because I'm sure you guys have school or work in the morning. Do have a comment from Michigan Made. He does have the first comment of this post-game show. Dennis was a great pickup. Watching him late games get an illegal screen call to go his way and baited Sharp into a follow was great. Yeah, like I think that's why I was so excited when we got Dennis Schroeder, Michigan Made. Like Dennis Schroeder is a true professional. He is just a guy that has played for a lot of teams. Obviously, I think he kind of gets that joke where he just keeps bouncing from team to team. But yeah, he was a great pickup. The way he's able to kind of bait fouls in a sense, he's a good actor. He's good at selling contact. That illegal screen, to your point, huge call to go his way. And yeah, he did bait Sharp into a foul. Like I really hope that Dennis Schroeder can kind of get with these young guys and kind of teach them the art of getting foul calls, because I think as of late, like this team has been really aggressive with the officials, like yelling at them to overturn calls or say, hey, that was a foul, like speak up. But overall, really happy with him out there, and I think he's a very calming presence for the guards on this team, especially Cade Cunningham, because he's just a guy where they can pass him the ball. He can score at all three levels. He can facilitate and take some pressure and stress off the other guys. But yeah, definitely agree. Den Schroeder was a very good addition by Trajan Langdon, and he didn't really have to give up a whole lot to actually get him, which is actually wild. Excited for playoff basketball, Michigan Made. Yeah, I am too. It's going to be interesting to see between the 6th and all the way up to the 3rd seed what happens. Pistons are at 36 wins right now. You got about, I think, 18 or so games left. Honestly, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with the Bucks, the Knicks, the Pacers, and how the seeding does turn out. Obviously, the Pistons are keeping the pressure, obviously still being that 6th seed. I think they're a game out of the 5th seed. So playoff basketball is going to be really fun. I think overall, we talked this week with the Pin Down over there, if you guys haven't watched that podcast already, but we kind of talked about how the New York Knicks would kind of be like our preferred destination for a playoff matchup, just because I think the Pistons match up a little bit better with them versus like a team like the Pacers, which I think the Pistons Pacers first round matchup would be fun, but like guys like Pascal Siakam, I don't really think the Pistons have a solution for currently right now. I think Tobias does a very good job defensively, but I think the Pacers just would cause so many mismatches with their team, because outside of the starting lineup, they have, good, bench pieces like a TJ McConnell and a Mathurin. So playoff basketball should be really fun, but we just have to kind of keep this pace and, keep stacking wins from a week to week basis. Got a question from Lohi. What is your advice to become a sports talk fan channel on YouTube? That's a great question. I've actually never been asked this before. So I think any advice I would give to anyone maybe wanting to get into sports media, um, this is what I would say. If you're passionate about it and you're going to be consistent with it, um, the best advice I can give you is learn as much as possible, network, reach out to people, build a community. I think first and foremost, um, and like study up on the game. Watch these games, take notes during games. Um, Watch sports talk shows, get reps that way. I think that's what I've done since I was about like, 15, 16 years old is, watching the first takes, watching, first things first. I think those shows give you a very good grasp of how to speak and how to talk with being knowledgeable and also study up on the game. Like watch games on a night to night basis. But overall, I've been doing this for quite a long time. I've been very fortunate to work for some, pretty big companies, not only locally but nationally as well. But you know, I think if you just stay consistent, reach out to people, I'm sure they will give you their time. But overall, man, like if that's something that you do want to do low high, shoot me a DM. I'll support you any way I can. We have a comment from Dats. Was impressed with Anthony Simons. Yeah, Anthony Simons has kind of just been a bucket for quite some time. I think people are starting to catch on. He was actually a guy that I was kind of intrigued. If the Pistons were kind of make a quote unquote big move at the deadline, I don't really know like what Portland kind of thinks of him long term as a piece. But Anthony Simons, man, like the way he can just shoot that 3-point shot, mid range, get to the basket, make free throws, he's a good player. Don't really know what Portland's long-term plans are as terms of their core. I think they have a lot of young, interesting pieces. But overall, really like his game. I think a lot of fans tonight will be paying attention to what happens with Anthony Simons and the Portland Trailblazers. Got another comment from Lohi. We need Ivy back badly because Cade is getting blitzed like he does, and knowing how he's the only shot creating playmaker who can do those things at a high level is going to hurt us long term. I agree. Yeah, the Detroit Pistons do miss Jaden Ivey a lot. Like, even though they have won games, they've gone on stretches, they've gone on win streaks, don't mistake that they don't miss a dynamic playmaker and the second league scorer on this team in Jaden Ivey that was probably playing the best ball of his career. We should be getting an update whether or not like how the progression with his rehab is going. The Pistons have not ruled him out to come back this season, which I don't know if that's good or bad. I really don't. It's me personally. I want him to make 100% full recovery. I don't want to, rush him back and have a fear of him getting injured in the playoffs, right? But if he's going to go in the playoffs and he's 100% healthy and he feels good, the Pistons medical staff feels like he's, ready to compete and play for playoff basketball. That should be exciting. It's been since January since he's been out. We're in March right now, so I think his rehab is going well. He's not in the walking boot anymore, but I do agree with you. Having a guy like Ivy could really take the stress off of Cade when teams try to blitz him this season. We're seeing more teams do it as of late because once you get the ball out of Cade's hands, like who's the second best playmaker on this team, like realistically, right? And I think that's something you'll definitely see in the playoffs and more towards at the end of this regular season. With the Bucks and Pacers playing Tuesday, if we beat the Wizards, we would tie one of the teams and guaranteed fifth seed. Yeah, that'll be a game I think Pistons fans will be tuning into. We were talking about that on the playback live stream tonight. I don't know if I told you guys we've been doing playback live streams where we're live streaming games and we're able to give away 20 free passes for you guys to watch the games 100% free through League Pass, through Playback TV. If you guys want to check that out, it's Playback TV on Playoff Detroit. That's our room name, but I will leave a link in the comment section after this podcast is over if you guys do want to check that out on our YouTube channel. But Yeah, that'll be a game with a lot of implications, especially for Pistons fans looking in this Eastern Conference seeding. Chuck Brewer says one game out of fourth and a half a game out of fifth. There is a lot of implications with the Pacers Bucks, obviously. So it'll be really interesting to see um, what's going to happen with that game. The Bucks kind of have a tough schedule for the remainder of the season. The Pacers kind of have a cupcake schedule, if you ask me. Who knows what happens with the New York Knicks with Jalen Brunson being out for the next week, 2 weeks with that ankle sprain. But it'll be interesting to see if the Knicks can keep that 3 seed, or maybe the Pacers jump up and get that. So who knows? Who knows? But obviously, um, the fact that we're talking about playoff seedings on this podcast, not tankathon lottery odds, is actually kind of exciting. But overall, this game was very, very entertaining tonight. Have a comment from Michigan Made, and I also want to give a shout out to Shift God. What up, man? Hope you are doing well. Always see you in these post game podcasts. But Michigan Made does have a comment about Asar. Watch Asar stand in the corner hurts my heart. He's capable of doing more offensively, but I don't think Detroit's game play is focused on getting him involved. Their game plan, I know you mentioned. I would say, I think as of late, you've seen Asar at least take the ball up the court and just set up the offense, right? And I think that's something that the coaching staff has explored, and it's really helped them in transition. It's really helped the Pistons push the pace more. But nights like tonight, he was standing in the corner quite often. I did notice that too. But if we're being just fair, we're gonna call this game down the middle. We're not gonna you know drink the Pistons Kool-Aid too much. Sar had kind of a bad game tonight. Like if we're being honest, and even the game against the Warriors. Offensively probably wasn't his best game. Defensively, I think he did his best against Steph Curry and those guys. But I think that is still something that this team wants to um, look at, is Asar bringing up the ball up the court and taking stress off Cade and at least setting up the offense. I think he's more than capable. Obviously, his handle does need to get a little bit better, in my opinion. I think it's not as tight as it could be, and it's probably something that he will um, look to possibly work on this summer. Is just his handle and having a tighter handle, so he can initiate the offense and bring the ball up the court. But overall, I think I think I would look at the Washington games this week, where you'll probably see him have more possessions where he is initiating offense, where he is bringing the ball up the court. So obviously, this West Coast trip collectively, I think the Pistons did not play their best basketball. 2-2, they realistically could have beat the Warriors. They were in the Clippers game as well. Obviously, they didn't play their best brand of basketball, in my opinion. But overall, they're still competing on a night-to-night basis, and they finish out the week 2-2. So, I mean, can't really be mad at that, right? I have a comment from Patty Grimes. I'm on vacation in Arizona. I want to take my nephew to a Suns game. What game should I go? Let me look up their schedule for you, Patty. I know the Suns are, as of late, they're actually kind of playing better basketball. So I just have to kind of look up like what the Phoenix Suns are doing, or not doing, but like where are they going to be playing, or what games you should go to if you can go to a game. Looks like they have the Grizzlies. That might be a good game on March 10th, which is today. That could be a good game. Get to see John Morant and all those guys. That would, I think, would be a good game. Let's see what else they got on the schedule. They got the Rockets on the 12th. That's away. The Kings on the 14th. That might be a good game. The Raptors on the 17th. I think maybe the Kings game. I don't know how long you're going to be in Phoenix for, but that might be a good game. But yeah, they actually play some pretty good teams. They play Cleveland on the 21st, the Bucks on the 24th, the Celtics on the 26th. I don't know how long you're going to be there, but maybe the Kings game, if you want to take your nephew to go see them that way, could be a good game. The Warriors are a good team, but it's hard to beat the Clippers when Harden's dropping 50 and 20 free throws. Yeah, I mean, like overall, I mean, like the fact that you were even able to be in that game and be competitive, um, should be definitely encouraging as Pistons fans. Like you're at least competing at the end of the day. But I was pretty pleased with this West Coast road trip, minus the turnovers, and minus the boxing up, but overall pretty good West Coast trip if you do ask me. I'll do one more question. Also, did anyone see the Michigan State versus Michigan game? I did. Go green. Michigan State beat Michigan, which I think if you're a Michigan fan, Michigan will be okay. You're getting one of the best recruits next year in Trey McKinney, who I had the pleasure of covering in high school. The kid's going to be a bucket, definitely an NBA player, lottery pick in my opinion. But yeah, that was a very entertaining game. And I'm really happy for Tom Izzo that they won a Big Ten championship. Like, um, if you're a Michigan fan, like you have to respect him as a coach. Obviously, I know I got a little chippy there uh, with Michigan and Michigan State because they wouldn't let them like kiss their like home floor, which I don't know, it's weird. But that rivalry, it's probably one of the best rivalry in sports, if you do ask me, Michigan State, because those guys do not like each other, and I love it. But I am going to wrap up this podcast. Um, I do appreciate all 30 of you, tapping in at 12:30 at night, listening to me kind of ramble about the Pistons and this West Coast trip and this victory over the Portland Trailblazers tonight. But we will see you guys Tuesday when the Pistons play the Washington Wizards on a post-game show. And throughout the week we'll have podcast clips. So if you guys are kind of craving Detroit Pistons content, we got you guys covered throughout the week. But I want to thank you guys for tuning in, watching this post-game podcast late at night. Hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend and a great week. And as always, go Pistons. Peace.